reminder for everyone, this is our second Sustainability Matters event of the school year. My name is Catherine Cushing, and I'm the Director of Sustainability for the university. I'm also a faculty member in the Environmental Studies Department, and I see a lot of friendly faces, environmental studies students, but also students from other majors here, so thank you all very much for coming. The purpose of our event today is to educate you on regional and national climate change impacts and solutions. And we have two wonderful and entertaining speakers that you will hear from today about how climate change actually is impacting where we live today. And you'll also hear about solutions for the future as we move towards a low carbon economy. And if you don't know what a low carbon economy is right now, you will know by the end of Todd's talk. So things that you all might be thinking about, okay, going into this talk that I really encourage you to kind of ponder as the speakers are delivering their material, okay? So these are questions that I really encourage you guys to think about as we work through the presentations. And so Lauren and Jennifer have some extra sheets of scratch paper, recycled scratch paper. We encourage you to write those questions down, and we'll just have a brief question and answer session at the end of the two talks. But things that I've been thinking about in relationship to the talks that Will and Todd are going to give include questions like, will climate change affect where I live in my lifetime? Okay, how serious is this impact? What are governments and industrial sectors doing about it? I think sometimes we become a little inured to all the bad press that climate change is getting, and sometimes we feel like we can't make a difference at the individual level. You know, what are governments and industry doing to address some of these problems? How long will it really take for these solutions to be impactful? And what can I do? Do my actions really make a difference? So to bring this point home just a little bit and to emphasize that, you know, climate change, energy efficiency, and renewable energy, these topics, the theme for this year for sustainability at the university is really everywhere. Just driving here today from my house in Los Altos, I found out that the average snowpack in the Tahoe Basin will decline by 40 to 60% by the year 2100. Okay. 40 to 60% reduction in snowpack. Okay, so for somebody that works on water resources, this is just a staggering estimation. That's on the sad side. On the happier side, Governor Schwarzenegger has convened more than 1,500 attendees from more than 80 states around the country and many nations around the world. And he's done this 3 times. This is his 3rd Governor's Global Climate Summit. And he's bringing all these leaders together to talk about solutions to climate change. So I just kind of share with you these fun facts from the local news to help you understand that, you know, the items that our speakers are going to talk about today, they're very real. Okay, they affect us every day. They'll affect our children's lives. They'll affect the jobs that you might be going into in the future. So I really encourage you to think hard about those questions that I posed to you just a couple of minutes ago, and encourage you to ask questions of the speakers at the end of the talk. So I'm just going to go briefly over the agenda for today's session, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ellen Wilkinson, one of our graduate students in environmental studies who organized this talk. So Ellen will introduce the speakers. Each of our guests will speak for 20 minutes to provide their perspective on climate change. Ellen will facilitate a question and answer period, so get your good questions ready. And then at the end of the session, we encourage everyone in the room to not just think about what they learned during this session, but also to take action. So the hallmark program for this year's sustainability initiative is called the Green Wave. And what we're trying to do is train 100 to 150 students, undergraduate and graduate, to conduct energy audits, both on the residential side as well as in student dorm rooms and offices on campus. So every single person sitting in this room can do something today to mitigate the impacts of climate change. And so we have Anna, I don't know where's Anna, is Anna? Anna, can you, hello, there's our beautiful Anna Lee, who is recruiting for Brainwave signups. So, you know, my hope is that we would get at least 50% of the people in the room today to be affected by this talk and make sure that you sign up to participate in the Green Wave in some fashion. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ellen. Thank you.
You can't get through this way. You want to exit this way?
I know, go on. Sure.
All right, is that okay? Hello, everyone, and welcome. As Catherine said, my name is Ellen Wilkinson. I'm the program manager for the Green Wave. I'm going to introduce our two speakers in just a minute, but first I want to mention a few key features about the Green Wave so you'll have a better sense of why we designed this event to focus on climate change impacts in the Bay Area and possible solutions to our numerous energy challenges. That's because we want to engage in a conversation with us and with each other about why all this matters and why it's important for us all to get involved in changing our energy use habits. Individually, we may not feel we have much power to stop climate change. I think a lot of people feel despondent or in denial, don't want to think about it, don't want to go there. But collectively, all of us individually can make a huge difference. So the Green Wave is a program, as Catherine mentioned, that seeks to train up to 150 students on how to conduct residential, office, and dorm room energy audits next semester. You can register after this event today, as a matter of fact. The training consists of 6 consecutive Friday morning training sessions, followed by intermittent check-in sessions with our Green Wave team to support student teams in conducting a minimum of 5 audits before the end of next semester. Our flyer, which is available at the table when you came in, provides more detail. I encourage you to pick one up. Through the training, you'll learn why climate change is at the heart of the national push for energy conservation. You will gain fluency in energy, lighting, and solar technologies, among other things. You'll learn about the incredible clean technologies emerging from Silicon Valley, and will be able to tout with pride the many remarkable features of San Jose's green vision as well. You will learn things your parents don't know, and you might be able to impress them with all the things that you get out of the training. You will also be modeling key social marketing techniques that have proven effective in influencing behavior change through the subtle art of peer pressure. It works. We want our community involved in fighting climate change in every way we can. We want you to help make being knowledgeable about our nation's energy use and ways to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels cool. We want you to do that. We want you to influence others to care about all this too. If you're not interested or can't take the training, you can be on the receiving end of a free audit for your residence or campus office or dorm room. And we want you to tell your friends and colleagues about the Green Wave and get them involved too. So if you're taking a flyer, but you don't need to sign up because you've already done it, or you're planning to do it, you can hand it over to somebody else who doesn't know anything about it and let them know. Pass the word along. Lastly, I want to acknowledge our Green Wave partners, the City of San Jose, whose Green Vision has marked it as a leader among U.S. cities, and with Actera, a 40-year-old environmental organization based in Palo Alto. They had a representative here. I don't see them yet. So remember to grab a flyer before you leave today, sign up to participate, do something about climate change and about our energy use today. So now I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Will Travis. Our second speaker, Todd Mackey. I will offer his introduction after Will is finished. Will Travis is the Executive Director of the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission, commonly called BCDC, the state agency that regulates development in the Bay and along its shoreline. With 240 square miles of low-lying land surrounding San Francisco Bay, Will has become a strong advocate for a regional strategy to address sea level rise in the Bay Area, which is the focus of his talk today. Will has spent most of his professional career working for state coastal management agencies, but he has also worked in the fields of architecture, local planning, private consulting, advertising, and public relations. He has written many articles on coastal issues, has been a lecturer at colleges and universities throughout North America, and has provided advice on coastal management to other states and nations. He spearheaded the public acquisition of 10,000 acres of privately owned salt ponds along the northern shoreline of San Francisco Bay to be used for one of the largest coastal wetland restoration projects in California's history. And more recently, he was the recipient of the 2009 Gene Auer Environmental Award, where he was introduced as Mr. San Francisco Bay. So we're very lucky to have him. We are so pleased to have he agreed to talk to us today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Will Travis.
Thank you, Ellen. Mr. San Francisco Bay. Like all of you, we're on various mailing lists, and I got a thing the other day, and I don't remember what they were soliciting, but it was directed to San Francisco Bay, and it said, "Dear San." So that's me. What I'm going to do is describe what we're doing here in the Bay Area to implement California's laws that are aimed at reducing greenhouse gases, and how we're trying to integrate these efforts with a regional strategy for sea level rise adaptation. But first, let's talk about climate change. I'll admit there are still some people who question the validity of the science behind global warming. They say, I don't believe in climate change, as if it's like choosing one religious denomination over another, instead of accepting that the theory of global warming has been tested and validated for over a century. Now, just in case there are still skeptics in the crowd, I have the latest scientific evidence to show that there is a clear correlation between human behavior and global warming. And here it is. And you'll see that even though this data just goes through 2006, the 2009 data is out. But I can't show it to you. It's nasty. Over the past several years, California, recognizing that climate change is real, has passed some landmark legislation that is aimed at reducing greenhouse gases. Now, as we deal with this problem in the Bay Area, here is what I call our portfolio of pollutants. And when you think about what you personally can do to reduce greenhouse gases, it's important to remember this chart. Because you see, we don't have a very diversified portfolio. Most of our air emissions come from the transportation sector. And most of those are coming out of the tailpipes of cars and light trucks. Now, clearly, we need new types of alternative fuels that pollute less. We need alternative vehicles that use less fuel. But one of the best ways to reduce our regional carbon footprint is to focus on where and how our region is growing, and here's why. We are not building nearly enough housing near job centers in the Bay Area, and the housing we are building is still among the most expensive in the nation. Now, to deal with this problem, we rely on a de facto government program called Drive Until You Qualify. And that is, you drive to the far edges of the region and beyond to find a house you can afford. And then, as a new resident, you use a lot of gas to commute to and from your job in the Bay Area, and you end up living in a community where, as you can see, everybody needs a car to get from one place to the other. Now, to deal with this situation, what we are doing is working on a program called Focus that encourages local government to plan more compact, mixed-use development where residents can get around on foot, on bicycle, and on transit instead of having to drive everywhere. Most of this transit-oriented development is going to be near BART and rail stations. But we're also looking for opportunities to take advantage of the fact that we're building a whole fleet of ferries, new ferries for San Francisco Bay, by planning transit-oriented communities within walking distance of these ferry terminals, like this one that's planned for Treasure Island. Now, it is required by law that whenever you're doing a presentation on climate change, you must have a photo of a polar bear, and here is mine. And we have to realize that as much as we do what we can to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the Bay Area, it will take a long time, and it's going to take a lot of cooperation from a lot of people around the world to rescue this poor guy from his dilemma. And even if we turn off all the lights, park all of our cars, shut off all the power plants everywhere on the face of the earth right now, the climate is still going to get warmer, and the seas are still going to rise for perhaps another half century or more. In many ways, we're in the same position that the captain of the Titanic was. At the speed he was going, once he finally looked up and saw the iceberg, no matter what he did after that, it was inevitable he was going to hit it. If we don't move quickly to reduce